I wanted to talk this morning, y'all, about something that is, I think we need to have a bigger conversation. And I invited someone that I met in them Clubhouse streets, because I spent a lot of time on Clubhouse, and I invited someone that I met on a day, y'all, where I was having a moment. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, if I can tell you, as a candidate running, and I've run not one time, not two times, not three times, not four times. This is my fifth consecutive run for office. And I was in a room where they were praying, and it was the pastor. And you know what? I needed that. And I found some really good people. And struggle and stress is a conversation that I wanted to have. I met a wonderful woman, Miss Nichol. How are you?
How are you, the Tamara Shealey?
I am doing wonderful.
Senator from the great state of Georgia.
All right now.
I feel it in my spirits.
Amen. Amen. And I receive it. Amen. Amen.
Can I just say that I celebrate and honor your vulnerability? Being in Clubhouse, being on any kind of social media, people want to fake it until they make it. They want to pose beside somebody else's Lamborghini and somebody else's Bugatti so they can look like they have it all together. And then for real people like us in the world, we think it's always all together. And we're the only one that's struggling with any kind of stress and strain and overwhelm. So thank you for that. I call it, when people, for me, I'm a rat. And I love when I meet other rats, because it makes me feel more engaged with them. And a rat, in my definition, is relational, authentic, and transparent. A rat.
Introduce yourself, Nichol. Nichol Mills, the anxiety coach. She is a friend of mine now.
Yes, ma'am.
I came into a Clubhouse space and they were praying. It was one of those mornings, y'all. It was, I've run 5 consecutive times, and this is a heavy, heavy, heavy load. And being as intentional as I am and consistent as I am, I'm focused. And some days this gets hard. And I was feeling heavy one morning, and I came into a room, and it was a room full of wonderful people, and I felt the love and the energy. And this is where I met Miss Nichol. Introduce yourself.
I am Nichol Mills. That's what I'm known in my everyday life. I go by Nichol. I go by Nick, Mom, Mommy, Ma.
Ma.
During the day, I'm a receiving inspector at work, but they gave me this long title, and it just means I receive parts at work. However, I'm preparing for my retirement, and in 5 years, I'm going to be retired. And with that, I wanted to give back, and my roots have started in psychology. I loved how the human mind works. I love how people can be resilient and go through whatever strains and stresses they are. It creates the jambalaya and recipe of who we are. And so you need that, the trauma, the stress, those challenges to help us grow. And so I started in psychology, and then I started parenting coaching, because I'm a single parent. And then I started doing financial literacy. And I was doing financial literacy because I bought my house as a foreclosure. And I was like, please don't let me lose my house. Oh my gosh, the same way I got it. Please don't let me lose my house. So with me studying all that you could do to make your finances work, you can get a little bit of money and do a lot with that little bit of money. Or you could get a lot of money and blow it all in a bad weekend. So I wanted to get what I had and keep it. So I started doing that. Then I felt myself just stuck, saying, who am I? What else do I have to offer? I'm just a worker. At that time, I was just a worker bee. And I was like, what are my gifts and talents? So I started studying interviews and building my confidence. And I came in there and they said, what do you have to bring to the table? I am the table. And with that, We're going to get this together. So at the end, they were begging me to come work with them. And it's like, it's all in your mind. So then I focus on financial literacy, parenting. What does this all have to do? And how does this shape our framework? It's in our childhood trauma and anxiety. And once I looked at childhood and trauma and anxiety was the root cause, that is what put all these pieces together. So I was already doing these things, but then childhood trauma and anxiety brought it all together. And so now I'm known as the anxiety coach. And I'm not a therapist. I don't profess to be a therapist. I don't even want to be a therapist. I want to coach people to championships. How can we win? And if we're sitting down like a sluggard, and I call a lot of my clients Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, because Eeyore would come and say, "How you doing? I'm tired. Okay, well, I'm this and I don't have all that I have. All I have is this." And I'm like, man, you sound like you're on the verge of jumping out of the window or something. By the end of me coaching them, I'm coaching them up into what do you have instead of looking at what you don't have. Looking at from a success and not a survival scarcity mindset, but thriving and optimizing what you have. So that's what I do as a coach. I'm going to help usher you into championship success for the next senator of Georgia.
And I receive it. And that morning, you were such a breath of fresh air. And we talked afterwards for a couple hours. And
Thank you.
it was such an encouragement, because again, I think we all have struggle, right? We're all, and here's where so many people, don't want and Facebook, like you say, fake it till you make it. And they create this story about, you can create this story about who you are on social media. But we all are going through and go through stuff. And I believe we need to talk more about these things and and share, because you don't know who needs to hear your story. Yes. And I think when you and I, when we talk, and I'm like, this campaign ain't no joke. It's exhausting for me, this fifth run, but I can see it so clearly this time. It's a very different race. And I can see the end so very clearly. I'm excited about what I see. I'm encouraged, but the getting there, and I can see it like a race. Those last, when you almost at that finish line, and how hard it is to finish.
Mm-hmm. And people need to hear your story so they know they're not alone, because there's nothing new under the sun. You're not the only one going through what you're going through. But because you feel like that, you may not have a strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And so because you don't have a strategy, you feel isolated. And that's what the enemy does. Like, think about if you have a gang, right? The gang is strong as a group, but if you get one of them off by themselves, they're not so tough. And so the enemy wants you to get by yourself so he can whisper things in your ear, so that he can have you nervous and disoriented and doubting. Because when you take a test, you have true and you have false. But once the enemy inserts multiple choice, true, false, both, or neither, now you're like, I thought it was true, but maybe it's not true after all. Maybe it's both. Maybe it's neither. I don't know. And you start to doubt what the truth is about yourself, that you are a champion, that you are a conqueror, that you can win. Out of all the ancestors and all the descendants, you made it. Out of all the sperm, you swam to the top. So if you can do that, what else can you do? And if you give up on yourself, then other people will give up on you too. So other people are going to be on their team. Who's going to be Team Tamara? Who's going to be Team Anxiety Coach? I'm going to be Team Me all day, twice on Sunday.
Twice on Sunday.
Yes, man.
We all go through, and see, this is where again, in the Black community, I think we have we have so much trauma, so much generational trauma. And we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it because one thing I think I've learned from um, is when you don't talk about it, it doesn't go away.
Yes.
It's not like even when you don't talk about it, it's not there because it's still there. And we carry that as a people. And because I don't know whether it's pride for us as a people or our survival mechanism, like you don't talk about this stuff. You kind of sweep it under the rug and you keep going.
So
Or
the thing is, we have individual trauma and we have collective trauma as a generation, as a group, as people. You know, you have your cultural trauma of being ancestors and descendants of slaves and still being marginalized. They don't want you living in a certain neighborhood. You can't go to a certain school. I'm going to prevent you in business from success. I'm going to prevent your investments and put tax on different things just to kind of get in your way and create obstacles for you. So that is a cultural trauma. But then you also have a individual trauma where your father's not in the home, or your mother has to work 2 jobs to make ends meet, or your uncle has some kind of mental disability that prevents him from work and he's living with you, but he's molesting your kids. You know, all of these different kinds of traumas that are individual and collective. And when you put that together, you have a hypersensitive group of people. And I think about when you go to the dentist, they touch this tooth and they tap it to see the sensitivity. They touch the other one. Once they touch that one with the exposed nerve, ooh, and that's how we are going through life. And we don't want to be vulnerable because the last time we were vulnerable, when we were 5 or 7 or 9, we were taken advantage of. And being taken advantage of makes you not want to open up. So what do? We're in survival mode. We're constantly paying the bills, constantly picking our kids up from soccer, going through a marriage, going through a divorce. And we just got to keep moving because Black people are so strong and Black women are even stronger. And it's like, being strong doesn't mean that you don't get tired, that you don't cry, that you don't need a break. Even Jesus said, pass this bitter cup from me. He was like, come on, please. And we all have that. We just need to talk about it. And so as an anxiety coach, I focus on techniques to, like I said, I'm not a therapist. So we talk about what ails you. What is your specific individual trauma? And we go through an assessment to find out all these different traumas that you have. We rate them for intensity and importance. We don't do intensity before we do importance, because it can have a lot of intensity, but if it's not important to you and you don't feel like it's relevant to your life, we'll touch on it, but we'll touch on it last. So we go and rate it based on that. For a whole hour, we will talk about that one specific trauma to remove the emotional charge. And the emotional charge removes the hypersensitivity so that you don't feel bothered by it anymore. You know, that's why somebody can tell you a story about a person that got hit by a car or something like that. It doesn't even bother them anymore. You're looking like, wow, you're not even affected by that. And they're like, yeah, I told that story until I'm blue in the face. And usually that's not what happens when you go through therapy. Therapy, they listen to you for a while. Not all types of therapy, but it's a lot of types of therapy. And some of the therapy will just listen to what you say, write it down, maybe give you some ideas or how does this seem to you? And then you come back next week and then you talk about something else. But we focus for a whole hour, 50 minutes, for 50 minutes about what is this one specific trauma? How does it look to you? It's like unlayering an onion, because when you look at it the first time, you can see my father was abusive. He was very angry. He didn't have time for me. He was this, he was that. What about he was stressed out and he was a felon before you were born? And he's trying to make ends meet. He's on his last strike in the world and on his last strike on his job. And he doesn't have time, because we're always in survival mode, to hug you and play with you and play tea party and color with you. And it's not that he doesn't like you, but you're a child and you don't know that. But once you start to look at your trauma, You can look at it with insight, hindsight, and foresight.
And you spoke to that with me when you said insight, hindsight, and foresight. Why don't you explain that to the audience? Like, what is that?
So when you are hurt or anything happens in your life, we move on, we move forward. But in hindsight, you look at, for example, if you had a bad breakup, if you have a bad breakup and the person cheated on you, you look back and you say, hey, wait a minute, maybe I wasn't home enough, or maybe I worked too much, or maybe it was this, or maybe I left him alone with my best friend. I wonder if they, so that gives you hindsight, because you can look back retroactively and see different things that you weren't able to see while you were in the moment. And it gives you insight to say, oh, well, maybe that's why this happened. Maybe that's why. And you can kind of reason it a little different. And then that gives you foresight to look for different clues going forward. I always highlight red flags. There are things that we pretend not to see. And so when we're hurt and we're damaged and we feel vulnerable, and we get certain benefits from playing the victim. When we're the victim, he did this to me, he cheated on you, girl, well, you better off. And so we want to get people on our team as opposed to understanding what happened, because we always look at our trauma. We never consider other people's trauma. When people do things to us, we look at the impact of what they did to us. But when I do something to offend or hurt you, I will hope that you look at my intention. And we need to extend that same compassion to other people to look at their intention as well.
And that's hard. That's probably the hard part right there. It's like, because when you look past your own pain and looking at this other person and maybe possibly seeing them in a different light, it's kind of like you got to let some of that go.
Yes. Because it weighs you down. Mm-hmm. And then the root of bitterness comes in and it messes up your business. It messes up all types of relationships, because you're thinking that everybody is trying to hurt you. I don't know. I think he wants something from me. I know that he's going to expect something. Or the last woman that I trusted, this is what happened. Or she reminds me of my sister. What's your sign? And that's why people want to know, well, what's your sign? So they can lump you together and prepare their survival tactics so that they're not hurt. That's why you find a lot of people that are looking into astrology and numerology and a lot of mystics and different things like that, because that's something you can control with the cards. You can predict what's going to happen. Watch out for this. I got this card and it says, you're going to meet a stranger. When God has a plan for you, he don't tell you what the plan is, because once you know what the plan is, you don't say, oh, never mind. I don't want to do that. I ain't know that all that was involved. I got to do that. I don't even like him. You want me to... So he can't reveal the plan to us. But with astrology and numerology and all of that, you can kind of predict. Okay, so you're a Leo. Okay, the last Leo I met, they did like this. Okay, so you're a Scorpio. Oh, I got to watch out for you. They say y'all freaky. You a Gemini, so you crazy. So you got many personalities, and you lumping these people together with these stereotypes based on something that is said on some paper. You can look at a lot of pieces of paper. It's not going to tell you nothing about Nichol A. Mills. I'm an experience, and you have to experience people, but we shut them down early by just looking at what it says on paper.
Yeah. I'm going to put some comments on the screen. He says, Negroes definitely suffer as a people stressed and under the most pressurized lineage therapy because of the trauma that we've been through, this from slavery through the Jim Crow era. My grandmother, and I remember this as a little girl, that she talked about one of her brothers, and I just kind of remember pieces of this story, but something happened and it was something about the chain gang. And I'm like, it's like this stuff that lives inside of us that she couldn't even really articulate. And as a little girl, I didn't understand, of course. And I just kind of have these little memories of some of the things she said to me. but that lived inside of her, and I'm sure some of that is inside of me.
Mhm. And
We're
also
carrying this.
with her piecing together, with you being at this age trying to piece it together,
Mhm.
just imagine if it happened and she was at a younger age trying to piece together what happened, and then to carry it on. Like, I don't know all of the intricacies and the logistics of what happened. I just know it was a night, it was some fire, and then my brother was gone. That's all I know, you know, and just that trauma. And then when you grow up, you realize, oh my gosh, the Klan came and got him. But what I want to highlight is, just as a people, even if you grow up in a 2-parent household with everything awarded to you, and that can be a problem too, because some people just give people presents and give people gifts without giving them time. So when you grow up as a parent, or not even as a parent, you think, okay, I'm supposed to do a bunch of shopping because things and gifts are what gets me noticed. Things and gifts are more important than who I am. And you get other people, if they were molested, now they want to show their body off because their body was used inappropriately too early. So that's what their association is going forward. These are the formative years, and we start to shape our view of the world. The world is safe, or the world is unsafe. And these are the things that I should do based on what I've experienced as a child. So what I was saying is, you have the cultural, if you have 2 parents, you have everything you need, but then you also have individual. And so as a culture, even if you have the 2 parents, you're still Black when you leave out the house. You still may not get a certain job or certain favor or different things like that. And there are a lot of people that think that the job is given to you by the manager. My manager is Jesus Christ. My manager is God. So I don't give a good gosh darn what you talking about. If it's mine, it's mine. And like I was telling you yesterday, God opens doors that no man can open. He closes doors that no man can shut. And sometimes there's no key, there's no door, there's no password, there's a hallway. And whatever you've been waiting for has been right under your nose this entire time.
And I believe that. And I believe that. I believe that I am a believer, and God's timing is perfect. And sometimes we have to go through. And I think about, like, again, with me, my struggle and my stress is this race. It's like it is all that I am right now. It is everything that I'm giving it everything. And it's to my own detriment, as I probably don't have the balance that I need to do this. Like, I'm not balanced in it. I'm like so focused and laser focused because I want to see our people come out of this. I want to see, reparations has to happen. We have to start repairing the Black community, those of us specifically who are descendants of chattel slavery. We have to. And it's such an urgency. It's such an urgency. And this is a ball that I cannot drop. And do I think I will? No. And do I know this is bigger than me? Absolutely. But I'm so focused, and that becomes my struggle and my stress, is that I'm so focused on finishing strong, not just for me, but for all of us.
Mm-hmm. And when you were talking about a balance, we have to be balanced, because what anxiety is at its core is of regret, of looking backward, of looking at past mistakes and past failures and things we could have done differently. And it's a perpetual looking ahead and trying to set up a strategy or something to absorb and mitigate the impact. So if you're always looking back and always looking forward, you're not living in the present. So then you'll go days with sleep deprivation. You'll go days without hugging your children or speaking into their life or talking to a friend, and you'll say, oh man, I was just thinking of that person. And I ask people, when was the last time you took a bath? I don't know. When was the last time you took a nap? I don't know. When was the last time you laughed until you cried? Oh my gosh, I was probably 7. And these are things that you got to put into play. That is because if you're a giver and you're trying to get reparations for us all, you're single-handedly trying to do that on your back. You have to fill up your cup, and you cannot give from your saucer if you're giving from your deficit. You have to give from excess, not from your reserves. You know, when a gas tank is running on fumes, everybody starts to panic now. And that's what happens when we're always in a stressful state. And as Black people, we've survived. We're survivalists. All we do is just keep going, keep pushing, keep your head up, hold it down. God got your back. It's one day at a time. I'm going to keep on keeping on. All these little colloquialisms that we use, but none of them work. They just infuse burnout and heart attack and stroke, and all of those things are associated with anxiety, because when the way your body was designed is to protect yourself from danger. And so in the caveman days, if you're standing there and there's this big dinosaur, your heart rate will start to accelerate, your pupils will dilate and contract and everything to get you ready. And then there's a certain burst of glucose for sugar, just to give you a short energy boost. So you could be like, okay, dinosaur, it's going to be me and you. And so when you get ready to hit that dinosaur, you hit him, and you got one time to hit him with that rock, or you can miss, and he's really going to attack you like the Revenant. And so you gotta hit him that one time. After you hit the dinosaur and the threat is away, now your body can relax. But as Black people, we're always in a constant state of, every time I get in my car, I could be pulled over by the police and shot and killed because I'm Black. My child can go to school and have nair thrown on him, or be spit on, or I'm applying for a job, but they probably not going to give it to me because I'm Black. They're probably not going to give it to me because I don't have a degree. And a lot of days now, people aren't really talking about degrees. They're talking more about certification and proving that you know how to do the job. And so we have this fear and this pressure and this stress. So your heart rate is up, your heart rate is down. Your glucose is up, your glucose is down. But for Black people, it's always up. It ain't never down. When did you take a bath? I gotta go to work. When did you take a nap? I don't know. I gotta get these Christmas gifts. And we thinking about all the things we gotta do. When was the last time you went to the doctor? The doctor? You want me to take off from work to go to the doctor? I don't get time off. So we thinking about all these different ways that we just have to keep moving and keep going and keep going. So your body is confused, and your new default state is danger, 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 danger. It's not danger, relax. Danger, relax. Danger, relax. And that's how it's supposed to be. That's why anxiety focuses on, for resolution, breath work, because breath work slows down your internal organs. It slows down your heart rate. It slows down your sugar. It brings you back to homeostasis. That's why naps are so important. And then there's another one, progressive muscle relaxation, where you relax your forehead and your eyebrows. Because a lot of times my resting face is like this. And it's not that I'm mad, it's me trying to figure out something, or me trying to make sure I understand, because my trauma is tied to not thinking I'm smart enough. So if I don't understand, I'm thinking, uh-oh, danger, 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 danger. So I have to understand. So my face will be doing like this, and people are saying, why are you so mad? I'm not mad. I'm just trying to understand and make sure that I understand so I don't get any danger. So then you relax your eyebrows. You relax your cheek muscles. You relax your neck, because a lot of times we got our shoulders up. You relax your jaw. I've been teaching my son, a lot of times when we have stress and anxiety, we're just doing like this. Even if your kids are doing something in the background, don't y'all see me on this podcast? Be quiet. But to lower your anxiety, unclench your jaw. And you'll notice, I'm not as tense as I was before. It doesn't remove all of the stress and strain, but it's a technique. You relax your shoulders, you relax your arms, and you go through all of the muscle groups in your body until you get to your toes, or you start at your toes and go up, and you'll tense it and release it. Tense it, release it, and move on to the next one. And that improves your focus. There's another one, EMDR. And that's eye movement desensitization, repositioning. I can't remember what the R is right now, but all of these things are for focusing on right now. Because if you're thinking about the past, you're worried about the future, you're not thinking about right now. Right now, I need to take a bath. Right now, I need to get some sleep. Right now, I need to talk to my friends. Right now, I needed somebody to tell me they love me. I need a hug, and we just, then we go through the world saying, oh, I don't do hugs. I don't want to hug. Yes, you do. You need a hug. Yes, you do. It improves your spirit. It improves everything about you. You need a hug.
Yeah, that whole thing. Let me tell you
a
a quick little story. That I actually just I haven't been out there on the campaign trail like I've been in previous races due to this, pandemic and it's cold. So I haven't been out there, but I had an event just the other day, and I was so glad and so happy to be amongst all these people. And there was a lady who I had talked to on the phone, but she and I had never met in person. And we hugged, and it was I don't know, I hugged her and she hugged me and she held me and I held her, and it just felt like a release. I don't know what that was. And I told
that was the whiz. That was, when I think of home, I think of a place where love overflowing.
Yes, it just felt like, oh my gosh, it was a hug that she needed for whatever reason, and I needed because I absolutely love people. And in this pandemic where people are like, we're social distancing, this feels weird and awkward and uncomfortable for me because I need to touch you. I come from the beauty and barber industry where I did services for 18 years. I touched people. I did nails. So I'm touching your hands, I'm rubbing your arms, I'm touching your feet, I'm rubbing your legs. Like I am touching people, and I miss that. I miss that. So you're speaking my language when you're talking about the power of touch and hug and feeling people.
Yeah, people go all day long and just wake up. Like I said, in survival mode, get up, you're late for work because you don't really feel like going. We procrastinate on things that we don't want to do. If you got to pay bills, if you got to clean the bathroom, if you got to write a 15-page or 50-page dissertation, anything that we don't want to do, we don't feel like doing that. So we're going to be late. I don't feel like going to work. I'm going to be late. But things that we get excited to do, we deprive ourselves of that. I love comedy. It should be no reason why I don't look at a comedy, a comedian, or something to bring me joy every single day. But for years, I was coming up with excuses because I was in survival mode. And so if it's something that brings you joy to be around people, you need to be on a Zoom, a Skype, a hugging somebody. Somehow, somebody need to get a hug. Because if that's what brings you joy, then there's no reason that and it gives you energy. Once you have the things that bring you joy, that gives you energy. Like, okay, I'm ready to take on the world now. I did this and I did that. It's when your cup is full, now you have some more to give out. But when your cup is empty and you doing like this, trying to get it out, you don't got no more.
There's nothing in there.
No more to give.
So we gotta fill up our cup. What you're saying is fill your cup with things that you enjoy, things you love. Be intentional about it. And here's where I go back to the word balance again. I don't have that kind of balance, and I don't even. I've been running for so hard and for so long that I don't. Now I got to figure out how to bring balance back to my life. And
you don't have to figure it out. Let me tell you. You don't have to figure it out. Let me tell you right now. You don't have to figure it out. In the age of technology, we have cameras, we have the internet, but also we have alarms and calendars on our phone. You can set an alert to say 10 minutes breath work, 10 minutes, go give somebody a hug. I'm going to go give my son a hug. I'm going to go give my daughter a hug. I'm going to go give my supervisor a hug. Or somebody, if that's what you love to do what you love to do. Set an alert, set a calendar reminder, something that, because it's 24 hours in a day. And so when people say they don't have time, really, out of 24 hours, 24, not you get 16 and I get 8. You get 24 and I get 24, and you can't carve out 10 minutes to be intentional, to sit in silence, to look up some joy, to get a hug, to touch someone, to smell flowers. I had a friend that loved flowers, but I said, well, how many flowers do you have in your house? None. I said, well, do you have any artificial flowers? She said, no. I said, you don't really love flowers. She said, I do. I said, well, if you got to go get them off somebody's grave, you need to get some flowers.
Don't take the ones off the grave.
Don't take the ones off the grave.
Oh my gosh, you are so refreshing. I am. You know what? God knew who to send in that moment where I was feeling heavy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this campaign, it is so much work that needs to be done. We're doing it all at the same time, and it's a struggle, and I was feeling stressed. You have been such a breath of fresh air.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I support you like 2,000%, because to me, you're like a current day Harriet Tubman. You got your shotgun, you got your gun in your boots, and you ain't going for that. And I'm like, we're riding out. You see, I got my hat on.
Let's
go. And we coming for what's ours. All of it. Not the remnants of what you think we should have, because you don't get to decide. But we need all that's due us. And I appreciate you and honor you for that. And I honor you for trying 5 times. If you got to try 11 times, keep doing it. But I believe that breakthrough 22 is for you. I'm a poet and I ain't even know it. Hey.
I receive all of that. I do, and I can see it, and I know it, and I see it. I can feel it. This race feels very, very different to me, and each of them have done something or felt different to me. But this one, I feel something. I'm claiming it, and I'm walking in it. But I've given it so much that, you know, along the way, this journey has been my struggle and my stress. And yes, when I came into that space, it was just refreshing. And I know everybody's dealing with something. Everybody is dealing with something, and we got to learn to balance it. And that is where that is what you just said. I don't have to learn. I just have to do it. Just be intentional. So I'm going to figure this out.
Yes, because the enemy wants to get you when you're most vulnerable, when you think you can't take no more. And like you said, everyone is going through something, but not everyone is verbalizing it and vocalizing it, because it makes you look weak if you speak up. And it's like, it doesn't make you look weak. It makes you human. And like I was explaining to you, when we cry, it washes our eyes. It gets our toxins out. We go to the bathroom to expel waste from all of the nutrients that our body couldn't use anymore. We expel the rest of the waste. So to get your eyes washed and cleansed and get the toxins out of your eye, crying is absolutely necessary. It's vital to wash your eyes, to get the purging out. And that's why your eyes will get heavy. And when you wake up in the morning, it's a brand new day. And that's why I always say that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Depending on your relationship with God, depends on how long your night is. And literally, when you finish crying, you feel brand new. You got a whole new perspective because your eyes are fresh now. Your eyes are brand new because they're clean.
And I carry my stress in my shoulders and behind my eyes. Like my eyes will feel like they are like somebody's like pushing, like there's something just pushing my eyeballs out of my head. It's I get a lot of pressure behind my eyes, and then I get a lot of tension in my neck. So yeah.
There's a book called The Body Keeps the Score. And I'm not sure who the author is right now. I can't remember it. I got it somewhere in here. But it's called The Body Keeps the Score. And when you have shoulder pain, it means that you're carrying a burden. And it's connected to trauma. When you have to carry a burden. If you have heartburn, it's heartbreak. If you it's unforgiveness that's in there. So if you have the pressure on your shoulders. You got a big shoes to fill and a lot to do. And so that's what that stress and tension is. So progressive muscle relaxation may work for you, where you just tense your shoulders, relax your shoulders. Tense your shoulders, relax your shoulders. The eye thing, maybe, I don't know, I wasn't there. Maybe you witnessed something at an early age that associates trauma with eye pain. You saw something either in person, on TV, a dream, something with your eyes to cause this pain and pressure to resurface. Maybe you can connect with the slaves, and that's why the reparations are so important. Maybe you saw something in a vision to connect you with your mission.
Now you're gonna have me like, oh, like, what is this? Why? And it is like, literally, it feels like my eyeballs are just like gonna, they're so, like, they're rocks. They're hard and they hurt. My eyeballs hurt. That's where I feel it. Mm-hmm. And you're gonna make me look at, like, really look and pray and really try to understand this.
Let me tell you why you should. Because anything that we have, if it's diabetes, if it's anxiety, if it's worry, if they tell you you have cancer, you should be an expert in it. Because when you go to the doctor, they're going to tell you any and everything. So if I told you something and you want to look into it, you need to be an expert. You know why? Because it affects you. And so you can't just let anybody tell you anything. You got to go back and look it up and make sure it's right. And is it on track? Does it align with your experiences? And then you reflect on what happened to you during your lifetime and see what can you take out. Because I always tell people there is things that you can use and things you can't use. Take the meat, spit out the bones.
Yeah, you got to go to her website, anxietycoach.net. God knew that room that I was in. There was, like, again, there was a lot of amazing people, but it was something about her. I don't know what it was. God knew it was bigger than me. And she and I connected, we talked, and as I run this race and finish this journey and get us to Washington, like, because we're going to get us to Washington.
I'm already in Washington.
Okay, you already there. Look, I can't wait. Look,
I got my hat and my shotgun.
I'll be knocking on your door. You home?
Yes.
Yes, get us to Washington, because this is our time. This is our time, and it's going to happen. But for me personally, I gotta balance this, and I gotta balance this in a way so that I'm healthy along the way, and I'm not, this is my struggle, but I have to balance the stress of this. I don't think people understand the magnitude of running for office. I can just tell you that it's tremendous. It is something you give up. I had to give up a lot of things to be able to do this and do this 5 times. So, it is truly it has been my stress, and some days it's better than others. And I'm like, okay. But that day, God knew that I needed a friend, and I call you a friend because it's like, I needed somebody that could just kind of help me to see that, okay, you can, not that I was struggling with doing it. It's just, how do I balance this so that I'm not so one-sided with my efforts.
And when you are depleted, it takes away from your creativity. It's hard to think about what you should do when you have your basic needs that you have to meet. You have to worry about your security and your health and your safety and your mindset and all these other things. And so the enemy knows what your weaknesses are, and he'll try you. And when you were talking about the things you had to sacrifice, it reminded me of fasting. I fasted a lot in my life, and I don't fast for any other purpose except for to remove temptations that stop me from having a fruitful relationship with God. And so when I fast, at the end of every fast, there's always a reward. There's always a reward. So when you sacrifice something, the things that you don't need, the things that are of lesser importance, for those things that are more important, there is a great big payoff. But you're not doing it for that. And that's why the payoff is so great and so grand, because you're not doing it for what you're going to get in return. You're doing it because it's the right thing to do. It's what God told you to do. And it's what makes sense.
I'm totally being obedient because this is a calling. You know, for those that may not know, I come from the beauty and barber industry, and that's an industry where people, you know, my job was to make people feel good, and I felt good. I enjoyed my work. They enjoyed me. It was it was reciprocal. It was like, it was an exchange of that energy. I tell you, when I hugged that young lady, and it was like the same kind of exchange when I went to work every day. But politics is a strange beast. This is not it's a level of wickedness that comes with being in political spaces. And it's like, it ain't the same kind of energy at all. I fight. It's like you fight and you have to work through, and you gotta figure stuff out. You gotta hear people, you gotta hear what they're not saying, and look at what they're doing. And it is very different from the world that I was comfortable in.
Somebody told me a couple of days ago, and I hope I get the quote right, but a knight's armor isn't protected unless it's tested. Like, you have to get into a fight and you got your armor on. You don't know until you get in a fight. Otherwise, you just dressed up in a costume. But you got to get out there and get in the battle to see if it works. So you're going to come up with fights. And if you're not a fighter, you've seen people, all these videos they got that are not fighters. And someone will come up to them and they'll put their chin out. Everybody knows you don't put your chin out, but you put your chin out and boom, they on the ground. That person is not a fighter. But God chose you as a fighter, a resilient fighter. You like Rocky. And Rocky, he looked like he'd been through a lot. But at the end, he wins every time. But for you, what I'm hoping to do with you is, you remember Shadrach, Meshach, and a bad Negro, right?
You better say it.
They went in the fire, and when they came out, they was not burned, and they didn't smell like smoke. If my house burned down, we gonna have to throw everything away because everything gonna smell like smoke. They was in there and they didn't smell like smoke. So while you're going through the fire, at the end, you will not look like what you've been through. It won't be no evidence. You're going to be either Shadrach or Meshach, but I see you as a bad Negro.
Oh, yes. And I receive all of that. I'm excited. This journey has been, reparations is at the core of who I am and what I'm fighting for. And it will do such good for America as a whole. And I don't want America to miss that. That's the part that, I'm hopeful that white America will see, that when we're all supported with this, it's going to help us collectively. This is for all of us.
And the thing is, we can't talk about righting wrongs and doing the right thing and the golden rule and even the platinum rule and all these things, but not even do it, and there's some things in history that they want to hide and they want to not talk about, and it makes them feel uncomfortable. And if you feel uncomfortable about it, fix it. I tell my kids all the time, don't do anything that you're going to be embarrassed about or that you don't want to have to apologize for. If you got to say, I don't want nobody to see this and I'm embarrassed and this is a skeleton in my closet, don't even do it going in. So now you have the chance to repair what you've fragmented and torn apart. Do the right thing.
Right thing. And then, you know what, though? I'm going to tell you, I go into a lot of conservative spaces, and I've said this, a lot of Republican spaces. And you know what? There's some people on that side of the aisle that hear this and know it's the right thing to do and totally support it. So we are there. We're in the moment, and that's why I get excited. And even in my struggle and even in my stress, I know that we are like on the right side of history, and we are in our moment. We're going to look back at this moment. In the 60s, I don't think they knew that was their moment until, what you say, hindsight, right? Hindsight is 2020. They looked back and they saw the 60s and they saw they were in their moment. And this is our moment right here, right now.
I just want you to stay in a grounded morning and, if necessary, afternoon and bedtime routine. And what that does is like putting a lock on your door, right? If you don't lock your door, any and everybody can come in. If you don't put your armor on and you don't lock your door and guard your thoughts and guard your heart and guard your things that you listen to and guard the things you see, the enemy can come and start to whisper in dissension and whisper in doubt and whisper in things that'll make you start to take true and false and enter in multiple choice. And so I have a morning routine just for me. I read my Bible, I pray. And after that, I have one of four things I do. I either listen to music, I listen to a comedian, I listen to some kind of pastor, or I listen to a motivational speaker. And on the days that I listen to the motivational speaker, by the time I get out the shower, I'm like, where they at? Let's do it. Yes. And I can go to work and the people, I know they're going to get on my nerves, but they don't get on my nerves for like the first 2 hours that I'm there. Now, maybe later on as the day go by, they might get on my nerves.
Because your cup is full before you get there.
Yes. And then for everybody that's working, that has a job, in the afternoon when you get off from work, you need to do another reset to fill up your cup so that you can take on your household chores, your business, your family, so they don't get everything that you had at work. So they don't get all of the traffic that you had to deal with, or the rude clerk at Target, or whatever drama you had to deal with at the MVA because you needed to get your license renewed, or whatever surprise bills were waiting for you in the mailbox when you got home. Come in the house, decompress, do a reset, and build yourself back up again so that you can handle whatever you need to handle, so you can have your problem solving. And then before you go to bed, put all those worries and cast your cares out the window. They have bedtime yoga, they have bedtime meditation, they have music, positive music that you can listen to when you go to sleep. And you remove any device, cut the light off, and let your body go into sleep. A lot of times people are not sleeping well is because they're not setting up a routine. You're still looking at TV, falling asleep with the TV on, or you're on your phone, or you're on social media, or you're doing something when you should be settling down to go to sleep. Because unless you're exhausted, rarely do people get into bed and immediately their eyes close. That only happens when sleep deprivation enters, because your body gonna take the sleep that it needs. If you don't give your body the sleep that it needs, it's gonna set you up. You keep going 24 hours and 36 hours and 72 hours. One time I went 78 hours without sleep. And I was working midnights, and my son was in Boy Scouts and basketball practice and different things like that. And I was just up. And we were trying to go just a couple more hours. And I couldn't do it. I said, let me just sit on the bed until you get ready. And I woke up 10 hours later.
Wow. I pray I never have to do that to myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I was younger then. I'm not doing that now. Okay. I'm not staying up 24 hours for nothing. And 24, I'll do 20 if I'm doing something important, but that's the end of that. But you have to set up parameters and set up timers and set up things to transition your day. Because if not, you'll say, okay, I'm gonna just sit here for 10 minutes. And before you know it, it's 3 hours later. Let me tell you this funny story this morning. I was trying to post our flyer on social media and I wanted to get it right so much that I kept deleting it and reposting it and changing the quote around and deleting it and reposting it. I did that for 3 hours. They just slept. 3 hours just slipped by. When I could have just posted it. But if you have alerts and you have timers and different things on your phone and to let you know it's time to transition, then you're able to do a lot of things. And somebody said today, listen to audiobooks. That's great, because a lot of people have excuses. Well, I don't have time to listen to books. We have time. I was listening to this book called No Excuses by Brian Tracy. I would listen to that book one day, and The Kindness Challenge by Shaunti Feldheim. And I would listen to both of those books on alternating days while I was taking a shower and doing my morning routine. Just had them playing while I'm walking around the house. I could still hear it. It's not like we have to sit down. The way technology is today, you don't have to sit down and give your full attention to something. You can listen to it and still put lotion on your feet. Still take care of your baby hair. All of that can be done at the same time.
Mm-hmm. I just want to say thank you for gracing us with your presence and being such a support to me. I needed you and you were there, and I'm going to hold on to you as we continue this journey to the United States Senate. Please tell everybody how they can contact you.
Yes, you can contact me by going to anxietycoach.net. You can also go to my Instagram, which is anxietycoach_Miss Nick. You can reach me on ClubHouse as Anxiety Coach. But if you look for Anxiety Coach and look for my face, one way or another, you're going to find me.
Yes, y'all. I just want to say thank you for joining me. And I'm going to stay. We are connected.
Yeah.
We got to raise.
When we come to Washington in this campaign, we're coming to get our shit. Reparations, and we coming for our check. Reparations, say it loud. What you like? Green, cash, you can't stop me coming for 40, kicking the door, 45 acres and more. Our 6.4 trillion, miss that Civil War. We came from the poor, we catching the Lord. Picking the kind of things that go. Straight after underground, the only cemetery that we have with the trees. Watching our bodies when they're going to breathe. Think to the north side, get free. That way, where the wheels sit on the hill. Think to the north side, get free. Reparations, and we coming for our check. Reparations, say it loud. What you like? Green, cash, you can't stop me coming for 40. Look, we taking them back. Put the bridge on the map. Police came with the strap.